Yeah, Bali will really, and people tell me this a lot. Bali either is going to embrace you or it's going to kick you in the ass. And really feel like Bali embraced me. We have the largest Juneteenth celebration in Southeast Asia that my two other co-founders has pushed me and encouraged me, and we do that to each other as well, to do bigger and better things and keep striving for more and more and more, because there's no limit to what we can do. It's just having the guidance and the culture here. Culture here is crazy. They're and not in a bad way, in like an amazing way. You know, they're so accepting and so welcoming and so polite. So it's just hard for you to be that person that you once were when you get here. It's just a complete shift.
Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Lajoie, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jana. Jana is the co-founder of Black in Bali. Black in Bali is a supportive and inclusive community for melanated travelers in Bali, Indonesia. Their goal is to provide resources, information, and connections to facilitate safe and enjoyable travel experiences for their tribe. They are also committed to supporting the local people and economy of Bali through their community and promoting cultural exchange and understanding between travelers and locals. Everybody, please welcome Jana to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing
Thank you for
today?
having me. I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm on the other side of the world, so trying to keep my eyes open, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here.
Right, girl. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for taking this. I know it's really late in Bali. I know it's really late. But thank you so much for being here. And the way that I know Jana is actually through Black in Bali. I spent, some of y'all know, I spent 4 months in Bali. And just as I was about to leave, actually, I was introduced to the Black in Bali community. And that's part of the reason why I actually stayed in Bali for another 2 months. And I think, yeah, I met you at the first time I was exposed to Black in Bali. That was the first day that I met you. Everybody was super friendly. And I really did feel like there was a strong sense of community from day one. I think if I didn't feel that, I probably would have left. So like I'm really grateful for Black in Bali. I'm really grateful that I had met you and everybody and the connections that I made through Black in Bali. But today I really wanted to talk about you and your transformation experience. You know, this is all about transformation and expansion. Okay. How do we get to the points of transformation, kind of breaking that down? And then how can we expand upon that? Right. So we're going to take it back a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is, before you even moved to Bali, what was the thing that made you want to move there in the first place? Did something happen? Was there something in your life that happened that you're like, oh, I need to like change my life radically? What was it that really made you start to make that move?
Well, I would say, look, going back before Black and Bali, I've done a lot of traveling in my past, and I've always tried to take these trips with one of my best friends. We have the same birthday, so we would always take a birthday trip together, and then we would always take a trip on our half birthday. So 2 times out of the year, which, if you're in corporate, you only get so much time off. So we would take these trips every year, and this stems back all the way till like when I was 21. So it's been a while. And it was just so joyful for me to travel, and traveling was just something that soothed my soul. It just filled me up. It filled my cup. But I'd always felt like I could never get enough of it. Everywhere I traveled, either whether it was Belize or Mexico or Thailand or Iceland or Morocco, I would come back and I would just feel just so down. Every time I'd come back to the States and I'd have to go back to work, and it just didn't feel right to me. It wasn't until it was a turning point in my life, and I would say this is probably back in 2018 when me and a previous relationship, we broke off, and I was just kind of reevaluating everything that I had back in the States. I was looking, I don't have any kids. I wasn't in a relationship. I really didn't have anything holding me back. I was still good friends with a lot of people who were traveling and doing things, and I was just watching them, and I'm like, why can't I live this life? So shortly after my breakup, maybe like 3 months after my breakup, I lost my job. And, if anybody's lost their job, that's just another, slap in the face and, being laid off. And I just didn't know what to do. So now I've broken up with my partner and I've lost my job. I'm like, okay, really, what do I have left here? There's nothing really holding me back from leaving. So I packed my bag and like, you know what, I'm gonna just take this trip and go around the world and see where it takes me. So I packed my bag. I put my house up for rent. Took all my stuff to my mom's house. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to travel around for a while and see where this takes me. I traveled and I hit maybe 6 or 7 different countries. And it wasn't until I went to Bali, Indonesia, that really just resonated with me. As soon as I got there, it was just, I felt this like bundle of just happiness and just joy. And I just felt like I could put my shoulders down and it just felt so like this is home, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I think the big transformation for me, 2 months into my stay, which I was only supposed to stay for 2 months, the 2 months turned into 4 months. Last year as it was for you.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens with Bali.
It keeps you there. I don't know what it is about Bali, it just keeps you there. But I met a wonderful group of ladies when I was there, and I saw them doing exactly what I had dreams of doing, was living abroad. I never thought of it being possible for me to do. I always thought my life was going to be the 9 to 5. You graduate from high school, college, you get a job, you buy a house. It was just like boom, 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 the US mindset. So when I see these women and they're traveling and they're working abroad, I was like, dang, hold on, I got an idea. I could do this. But it wasn't until I actually saw them doing it and I spoke to them and I realized that you could do this too. And not only that, they were my cheerleaders, and I like loved them dearly for just coming across them and them showing me the way. So I would definitely say that was probably one of the biggest transformations in my life, was taking the courage to not only travel around the world. At this time, I was by myself, solo traveling, but meeting those women and them really changing my life and me realizing that I can do something bigger and greater if I just step out of my comfort zone and try something new. So I left all my stuff behind. After those 4 months in Bali, I came back to the States. I looked around, I really didn't have anything left. So I literally got rid of everything I had left. And I was like, I'm coming back. And I went back and then I just never turned back.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, this is like the magic of the island is, and it's not for everybody, right? But for the people who I feel like are meant to be there, are meant to stay there, it keeps you there. It keeps you there. And even when you're there, you start to learn lessons. I learned a lot of lessons. The 2 months I stayed there, I learned a lot of lessons. It's crazy because actually, it's insane. So right, so I met y'all at the Black and Bali. I think there was like an open mic night with artists, and I was like, this is dope. Like I did not. And what's crazier too was about no, I think a year before, year and a half before, I had traveled and lived on an island. And because there was a part of me that was like, I know I want to live on an island. So I went to this island, really, really small, about an hour when you drive all the way around. And I was like, yeah, I'm in an island. I'm with my community. Like it was a community of Black people. And I thought that's what I wanted, right? But the island was too small. And a lot of the people on the island were from the island. So there was no travelers or anything like that. And so for me, it was a little bit of a culture shock. There was a lot of they call it machismo in Spanish, but it's like toxic masculinity basically was what was happening. It was a lot. And it was crazy because the island was so small. So it was like within like 30 minutes of something happening, the whole island knew. And
Everybody knew.
Girl, I'm talking like I would know stuff about somebody that I didn't even know, but it's just because they have nothing better to do but to talk, right? So so it was really funny because like I would be talking to my friends like, how do you know that? And I was like, because literally the dude just told me like five minutes ago.
The guy passing by.
Girl, it was crazy. So I was like, I do not like this. like my own experience when I was somebody on the island, I was like, girl, this is not it. This is not it. So it was like it was not it. Um yeah, I guess I can go into the story a little bit. So I dated this dude and he had told me he broke up with his girlfriend. Turns out he didn't. And but luckily the girlfriend was also a foreigner, so I was able to talk to her and I was like, "Girl, he told me that you guys had broken up. I'm so sorry about this." Like I was really upfront about it. And actually, I made a really good lifelong friend and she's actually one of the wisest people that I know. Like she's I think 7 years older than me, but she was actually a woman who had been traveling since she was 18. And so for
Wow.
me, it was really cool to meet her. We talked about it. She was like, yeah, it's fine. She was like, it's part of the culture here. She was like, it's kind of aware, but people had told me, but I didn't listen. And so it was really cool because I had actually made a lifelong friend from that. But my point is that after that experience, I was like, look, I know I want to live on the island because I want the island life, but I want it to be a bigger island. I want to have a community of people of color who are more spiritual. And a year and a half later, I come to Bali and I experienced that. And it was really crazy to see that manifest in my life. Even though it was just kind of wishful thinking at the time, it literally came into my life. So, but my point is that Bali, it's magical because it gives you not just like what you desire, but also the medicine that you need to be your best self, right? Um, and so I want to talk to you about that. So what was some of that medicine for you when you first decided to move to Bali?
Oof.
Yeah, sorry.
Look. I was I was in Bali during the pandemic, and I think everybody can speak or has a similar story when, COVID hit. It really made you sit on your butt and think about a lot.
Mhm.
And a lot of things came up for me during the pandemic, and I either had to face it and I had to go through it, or I was just going to continue to bog myself down with everything that I had not settled within myself. So I think being here, it was a lot easier to let go of that, especially because this is such a place of healing and spirituality. You can sit down and talk to a shaman, you can go to a temple and pray and have a blessing over you. There was just so much resources. There were so many resources here that allowed me to let go and figure things out, and people I can talk to. And the community here was amazing. Like these women here are something else. Like it's almost like they could feel your energy. And if they know that something's wrong with you, they'll sit down and like, it's a safe space. You could sit down and talk to me with whatever you're going through. So I think being here was a very transitional part for me to release, all of the demons, all of the baggage, all of the just everything that I was holding in that I hadn't let go of, especially losing my job and then, a relationship, and then also losing family members, my grandparents. So there was a lot that I haven't grieved and I hadn't dealt with. But Bali was one place that really helped me just get rid of all that and deal with it and work through it, talk through it, and then move forward from it. So yeah, Bali will really, and people tell me this a lot. Bali either is going to embrace you or it's going to kick you in the ass.
Yeah.
And I really feel like Bali embraced me with every little struggle that I went through and every hurdle. It's taught me a lot, and then it's I've learned a lot of lessons, good and
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, bro. If
Yeah,
anything, that's what Bali's gonna
it's gonna
do.
show you.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because I think to really get the most out of your experience visiting that island or living there, um you have to be in the right mindset. I think that's key because I remember when I was there, I met some people who, Bali gave them the medicine that they needed, but then they were like, no, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to make the change. And then so they bounced, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like, because I think even in those moments, they still help us get closer towards like where we need to be, right? Um, oh man, my question. So my question that I wanted to ask you, was, oof, what was it? The mindset. So how were you able to have that mindset being in Bali, the mindset of, you know, where you allowed yourself to be embraced, where you allowed yourself to go through the process of processing your emotions? Was there anything that you did before that helped you get to that space, or was it kind of a radical change?
I think it was a radical change for me personally, because this was the first time I've ever lived outside of not only the US, but my entire life. I've lived in the same 20-mile radius, like my entire life. So moving to Bali, Indonesia, literally was on the other side of the world. So any changes of mindset, of behaviors, of character that I made, it was drastic and immediate because I knew that I couldn't have that same mindset coming here. I think when people come from the States, and I'll speak specifically for the States, people come over with a lot of baggage. And there's a lot that people deal with in the States, especially being women and people of color. You know, we deal with racism, we deal with discrimination, we deal with biases. I don't feel like I deal with much of any of that here. So just coming here, it gave me the opportunity to put down my shoulders and let my guard down just a bit, because I knew that those same stereotypes and those same stigmas that are planted on you when living in the States were not here. And being here, you can see when people come here that they're still holding on to those struggles. They're still holding on to the discrimination that they faced, or the racism or the colorism that they face when they're in the US. And it's hard to let go of until you actually are ready to let go of it. You have to be ready, and you have to be in that mindset, and you have to be vulnerable to accept it, you know. And if you don't accept it, that's the foot in the ass you'll get if you're not ready to be in that mind space and you're not ready to take that transitional step in your life. So for Bali being here, it has definitely been a quick transition of mindset for me, because I knew just the people that I was around, it was just so much peace that if I stayed in the same type of mindset, I would just disturb everybody around me. And I didn't want that for them. And I definitely didn't want that for myself. So it required me to change who I was and how I looked at the world and other people, and the culture here. How the culture here is crazy. They're and not in a bad way, in like an amazing way. You know, they're so accepting and so welcoming and so polite. So it's just hard for you to be that person that you once were when you get here. It's just a complete shift.
Yeah, it's embedded like in their culture not to hold on to stuff, not to hold on to
Mhm.
trauma, not to hold on to
Yep.
stress. And I guess I don't know the reason why. But I think it's kind of their commitment to keeping peace too. I remember talking to this just this dude. I was at, I don't even know what cafe. There's a cafe in Ubud that they have like a piano, and this guy came up to play the piano, and I asked him if I could record him playing piano. It's just something, it's like one of those hobbies that I do. I like to record sounds and stuff. And I remember talking to him, and he was telling me the story about the culture. And he was like, "Yeah, the culture here, it's very different." He's like, "I had a friend who I think he happened to cheat with somebody, like, and he was married. But their mentality about it was not to hold on to it, and not to yeah, like, hold on to that resentment, right? Their mentality was like, okay, it happened, let's move on, we're not going to talk about it, we'll process it if we need to, we'll go see, a shaman if we need to, we will go um practice their religion, which is Hinduism, to help heal myself from this. But once it's done, we're gonna move on. And I think in some ways, if you don't process it, it can be toxic, right? That mentality, it can have a negative effect on you if you don't process it. But because they're taught to process it, because they're taught to accept I think it allows them to be a lot more peaceful. And I feel like this is like an appeal to a lot of foreigners too when it comes to their culture, is that they're really peaceful people. Like, I mean, I think in the cities it is a little bit, the culture is a little bit different. And I think it's because of the energy that is brought by tourists, you know, and that in some of the cities, like in I think Canggu is like one of the most dangerous cities. Yeah, and you've seen this. But yeah, so I think that has changed the culture a lot. But if you go to the northern part of Bali, if you go to the more rural areas, you can really see how welcoming, how loving,
Yeah,
how accepting these people are. And I think once you start to live in those areas, and once you start to really be with the people, spend time with the people, you can really start to see that, and then you'll start to embody it yourself too. um
absolutely. I remember going up north when anytime I go up north in Bali, and it's kind of secluded. The villages are really small, they don't see a lot of tourists or visitors of any of that sort. And I remember going up there one particular time, I think it was like in 2021, and we were can't remember exactly where we're in, just south of like Kintamani. And we went into this small little town and we were looking for a restroom, and we speak very little Indonesian, but we were able to get the point across that we needed to use a toilet. And they looked at us like they have never seen people of color, like Black people, before, and it was just so endearing. But they were also so very welcoming, and even though they didn't know who we were, they've never seen anybody like us, they were still willing to open their door to us and allow us to use their facilities, and gave us snacks on the way when we left. So it's like the culture and the hospitality here is just like bar none, like the best.
yeah, it's so beautiful. So talking about the hospitality and culture, so how have you put that into Black in Bali?
Mm. I mean, Black in Bali is something that we started. I would say it was a concept back in 2019. Uh, we really started to get the ball rolling on how we're going to move within the business 2020. But then, of course, the pandemic hit, and it really caused us to sit down and really reevaluate things, considering it's predominantly a tourist driven company. But as soon as the borders opened and we were able to get back on our feet, 2022, we became a registered business here in Indonesia. And we just wanted to build a community here. We see that there's so many other cultures and ethnicities here that build communities. You have a Russian community, you have an Australian community, you have an Italian community, but there's no Black communities out in Indonesia. And we wanted to be at least one in Bali, to where we can offer people to come here and not only have a good time and experience the culture, but find healing if they need it as well. Um, the message just continued to grow and grow and grow. And now we have a very rich and thriving community. And don't get me wrong, there were Black people here before we've gotten here, but they were just so sparse. And you would see them every once in a while, crossing the street, but hey, how you doing?
Right,
And,
right,
we
right.
would come together. And that's actually how we came together. It was just three of us, and we're at a villa party. We're like, hey, we should make this something that we do more often, because having this community on the other side of the world is something that is very much needed. And we just stuck with it. And every time we have an event, people come up to us, they're like, we're so glad you've done this, because you've not only given us a space to be able to express ourselves and feel like we're more at home, but you're doing it in a place like Bali, Indonesia, that's very spiritual, that's very healing, that's very open and just inviting. So having that as well as building a community here has just been some of the greatest accomplishments that I've made, and probably the biggest transformation that I've made in my life, because I'm able to not only have a stable grounding here as a Black woman living on the other side of the world, but I'm also able to provide the resources and the information and the knowledge to everybody else that is looking to do the same.
Yeah, and it's like it's incredible that y'all were able to build this community. I love it because it's like the community that we didn't know we needed, right? I think many of us
Absolutely.
who visit Bali or who even see Black in Bali on Instagram, we're like, oh wait, I didn't know I needed this, but no, I need this. I need this
Need it,
experience.
right?
Because it's this beautiful balance, this beautiful balance between healing and also having that community and having people to talk to, having people that you relate to, having people who listen to the same music, you know,
Mhm.
um, having people with the same culture. Like I remember like when I was in Bali, I went to a lot of kickbacks and I always had fun. Like it was like every single week there was something going on, but I loved it because it was this really beautiful community with artists. So I hung out with a lot of the artists that live in Bali. And it was just every time we got together, it was like it was magic because it was just like it was people again for me who were not just people of color, but also people who were spiritual, who had that kind of that spiritual connection, which I feel like even in the States can be hard to find in some places because either people are like in the closet about it, you know, like they hide the crystals like to the side, you know, whatever they have guests over, or it's just it doesn't exist, or they don't really, you know, they haven't connected. So I think it was just such a beautiful balance between the two. And I've met so many like lifelong friends from that experience. And so I really want to say thank you so much for Black and Bali because like for me it really opened my eyes to realizing that yes, I can have this community. Yes, I can have make these connections. And there are thousands of people who are like me who also want those connections, who also want that experience. Um and so I want to talk to you next about how Black in Bali has changed. So it's like the beginning, from the start of Black in Bali to now. Have you seen a change in the community? Have you seen a change in the people that the brand is attracting, or has it always been the same?
Oh no, we're definitely seeing a change. I think since we've been getting a lot more exposure through publications, mostly through social media, and a lot of people have been telling their friends about it, so word of mouth. We're seeing a lot more people that bring different facets to Bali, whether it's entertainers, it's poets, it's people that have businesses like they make and grow tea. They've been on If you think you can dance or sing on Netflix, like just all types of people, and it's just amazing crossing paths with everybody and hearing their stories. And you have a couple of individuals here that are looking to build like a black like um summit, like things that you don't see people of color in those types of spaces. We're building those spaces now, and it's so great just to have a whole new caliber of people coming in every month, and they want to do something new, and they hit up Black and Ball, they have a great idea, and we're just like, it's almost overwhelming because it's just so many great ideas and so many great people that have so many amazing initiatives that they want to push, and we want to be able to support everybody. So, I mean, we have people that want to do retreats with us. We have people that want us to help push their spiritual initiative, whether it's starting a yoga business or promoting their companies, or collaborating with us to have events or talent showcases, you know, or housing seminars. So it's growing so fast. Like we have so much in store for 2024 and the future that I don't even want to say too much. I just want you guys to tune in and see because it's going to be wild. We have the largest Juneteenth celebration in Southeast Asia. So 2024, 2022, it really started. We only had maybe 50 to 75 people. 2023, we bumped it up to maybe like 150. We already have 100 people RSVP'd and it's only March. So
Wow.
we're looking at 300 to 400 people this year. And that's not including the people that live here. It's just the people that are coming here. So super excited for that. And yeah, I'm just excited to see everybody that comes in and all the new faces and new perspectives and the new the newness. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, yeah, it's incredible. And it seems like the brand has really expanded um in a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, and it's going to continue to expand. How has Black and Bali's kind of expansion, how has it affected you as an individual? Like, how has it allowed you to personally expand who you are and the definition of who Jana is?
Ooh, I've expanded from not thinking that I can do it to like, oh, I can do this. So it's forced me, and I needed this push. It's forced me to believe more in myself and the capabilities that I can put forth. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about things that I once told myself I couldn't do or I don't want to do. And then I just try it and I'm like, okay, I kind of like this or I kind of don't. So it's kind of given me a bigger window to look through with the possibilities of what I can achieve within myself. During the pandemic, I was just bored and I just started making homemade like hair care and skincare products. And now I'm on the brink of releasing my own hair care and skincare line here. So it's just things that I never thought it was possible that challenged me and forced me to grow as an individual. And that Black and Bali has definitely been one of those things that my two other co-founders has pushed me and encouraged me, and we do that to each other as well, to do bigger and better things and keep striving for more and more and more, because there's no limit to what we can do. It's just having the guidance, the wants, the need, and the drive to want to continue pushing forward.
That's beautiful, girl. Yeah, I remember that too. I remember I had asked you, like, I think 3 months into my stay, I was like, girl, do you have any hair care products? And you were more than happy. I think you bought me a bag. Because it's hard to find there. It's really hard to find there. So I was
Yes,
really
very much
grateful for
so.
that. Yeah. Um, and that's really exciting to come up with your own skincare or hair care line. I'm guessing it's all natural, right? Or
You bet it.
I'm excited
All
for that. That's
natural.
exciting. Um, So I mean, I wanted to really, how do I put this? Like dive a little bit deeper, okay? We gonna
Okay.
dive a little deeper, a little deeper. So when it comes to, let's say, Jana in what before like 2018, I think it said you said when you started traveling 2019 about.
When I first came to Bali, yes.
Yeah, okay. Versus Jana now. Um, were there any surprises in your transformation? Like, were there any things that you thought you could not do in 2018 that you're doing now?
Um, I never thought I would be in another relationship that I'm in. I've been in a relationship for 4 years, and this was with somebody that I met while I was in Bali. I was very open to actually finding somebody. I told myself I'm not looking for nothing, but if it comes, it comes. Like I'm open to it. And I think coming here was one thing that I allowed myself to just be completely open and transparent. And I never thought I would be that person moving here, like the Jana that was first coming to Bali to the person I am now. Like I never thought I would be so open and so willing to adapt, because I in my past relationships I was like, look, this is what it is. If you don't like it, go.
Right, right.
So now I'm just like, okay, you could be a little bit more open, you could be a little bit more soft, you could be a little more understanding, and it's just a whole new me that I'm embodying, and it feels good because I don't feel like I always have to have my guards up, or I always have to feel like, someone's just being with me for a particular reason or looking for some type of interest. And I know that the person I'm with now is with me because it's just everything that we want within each other and within our future. So it's very refreshing being with somebody that you could just let all your guards down. You could put your cards on the table. And we say, this is what it is. This is what I have. This is what I need to improve on. And this is the person that I want to be. And this is what I strive for. And I want to do that with you. So that's something. Whew, child, I never thought I would be that person to do that, but I've opened up and I've let myself be vulnerable with somebody, and that's been very hard, but it's also very rewarding because you always know that you have that person that's going to be there for you and somebody that is always going to have your back and love you unconditionally. So yeah, that's a little insight
That's
about my
beautiful. I mean,
love life.
yes. I mean, that's Bali again, giving you the medicine that you didn't know you needed,
I
but
didn't know.
worked out, you know. Thank you so
Oh.
much for sharing that. um, I'm laughing because before this, I know I didn't prepare you probably on
But
how
we're
deep
talking.
we're gonna
It's just
get.
conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm very thankful that you're willing to share. Thank you so much. And for those of y'all who are listening, please let this be a reminder that again, when life gives you something that you just didn't expect, I feel like 9 times out of 10 is for the best. So embrace it. Just like Jana said earlier, embrace it. Just how Bali embraced Jana, you got to embrace the new that's coming into your life. And you will grow and you'll grow happily, right? You'll
Yeah.
be rewarded with that. You'll be thankful afterwards. That you got to embrace it. That's key. That's key. It's absolutely key.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this is like, it's really beautiful because I feel like, I mean, I didn't know you, post or no, sorry, pre Bali. I know the Bali Jana. I don't know the one before, but I remember like when I
Right.
first met you, I was like, oh my God, this girl's like so nice. Like, and just
Aw.
welcoming and giving. And again, I feel like you really do embody that culture, the Bali culture, um, that I feel like some people miss when they go to Bali, or maybe not miss, but they just choose not to see it and choose not to embrace it. I think maybe that's more what it is. Um, and it's just like it's beautiful. Like I feel like it is part of the reason like why I stayed in Bali. It's like one of the best first impressions that I had of Bali, especially because I think before, I don't know if you knew this, but I was staying with Russians and they're really, really welcoming. But it was so interesting, like going to Bali. I call it like Soviet Bali because like there's like a section of Bali, little tiny, but it's like everything is concrete, everything is gray. It's like it's really weird to see in Bali. Like um so it was very interesting going from that experiencing that culture to really experiencing like Black in Bali. You the other people who host Black in Bali, which I'm so sorry. I know one of them is your partner. And I totally, because I didn't really
Dharma
talk to
and Antoine. Dharma and
yeah,
Antoine.
I didn't talk to them as much. So it's not bad. But even they were like super welcoming every time. I remember when I talked to them the few times that I did, like they're so welcoming. And I think this is kind of the key to success is to be welcoming, to be giving, to embrace the change, right? I think that's something that you did really, really well. And you said earlier that you had people that supported you in that change, right? But to really embrace the change, I feel like is key. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight
It'll
it.
fight back.
Right, right. And if you need to learn that lesson, you'll learn it. But like hopefully you learn it once, maybe twice, and then you get it after that. If it's 4, 5, 6 times, honey, I don't know what to say.
Right. Just go home.
That
Just
point.
go home.
Um, but embracing that change, is so important. So I wanted to ask you what, like, it's really interesting. It really seems like Bali was the thing that really changed for you? I wanted to ask you if there were any courses or any mentors you had along the way that helped you facilitate this change?
Mm, no, I don't think there was, I didn't take any courses or anything of that sort. I think it was just talking to people, talking to the locals here, talking to the people that have been here, talking to the expats that have lived here for a while, and them kind of giving me the scoop. My partner lived here 2 years before I got here, so he was kind of in the know of how Bali ran, and the cultural aspects and the history behind it, and what to expect. So I think the people around me that I spoken to were the courses that I took to actually feel a little bit more connected and assimilate to living in Bali.
Yeah, so connecting to the community. It sounds like that was what,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what really, really helped you. Okay, cool. Yeah, just curious, just for the listeners, but I think that's part of the magic of not just travel, but I think slow traveling, going to a place and then being there for a little bit, right? I think you said the first time you were there, you're there for 4 months, right? Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think that's like, I guess in my opinion, my biased opinion, because this is like that's how I travel. I do slow traveling. But I think this is what really helps. It's like taking the time to know the people, taking the time to learn the culture, taking the time to connect. I think that's what really allows for those changes to happen. I think
absolutely. Because I feel like when you go somewhere for a week or 2 weeks, you really don't get a grasp of where you're at. You're kind of stuck in a tourist trap and you're doing everything that you see online and you're just so like, okay, this day I do this day I do that. But when you have time, like a month or two, you could really just like chill and like feel the gravitational pull of where you're going. It's not so routine. It's more like just let go and let it take you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that gravitational pull. Like I said, it's strong in Bali. I don't know if I told you this, but the week there was 1 week I was gonna fly to Nepal. That was my plan. I was like, Bali for 2 months. I
I
say I
remember
just
this.
yeah, oh yeah, okay, okay, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fly to Nepal. And it was craziness, y'all. Like to this day, I don't understand what went wrong, but there are so many delays that whole week leading up to that flight, delay after delay after delay, and like super delays. Like I think I had booked to see to do like a shaman like was it a chakra alignment? I think that's what it was. Nothing too intense, but anyway, so and they really use a lot of reflexology for this. But anyway, so that was delayed by a day. So I was like, okay, I'll go the next day. But because of that, I had to extend my rental for my little moto. And then the day I did the ceremony, I went back to return the moto. So this place was, I think, 10 minutes from my hostel. I knew where it was, but somehow, I don't know if it was the rain, I don't know what it was. It took me 2 hours to find this place that was 10 minutes away. Um, so there were so many things that happened that week. And finally, when it was like the day before the flight, I was like, fine. I was like, okay, like even my friend was like, look, there's all these delays happening. Are you sure you need to go to Nepal now? And I was like, okay, fine, like I'll stay, like or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
so
was the
like
universe telling you to sit down. It ain't your time to go to Nepal. Bali was like, no, you gotta stay here, babes.
craziness, craziness. But I'm really thankful that I did because after that, I think about 2 weeks after, I moved to Ahmed, which was my little oasis in Bali. I stayed with a really, really kind Balinese family, very devoted to Hinduism. Oh my God, they blessed their house like every single day. For I would even help them make the little, I don't even know what it's called, the flower thing, the offerings, I think
Sending
is what it's called.
saris. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think one day I helped them with that. And I was like, you do this every day? And she's like, yeah, every day. Like it's normal. It's like
It's
when they cook,
normal.
when they brush their teeth in the morning. That's every single day they do that. Um, so it was really beautiful. That was a really beautiful experience. I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah.
It was just, it was so great to be able to have that. And that's kind of like you said, it's the magic of Bali, right? It gives you the medicine that you need. And it
Yeah.
magnetizes you to
Yeah.
Yeah,
And a
to
lot of people
to
don't get that a lot of people don't get that experience either. They don't get to sit with the Balinese family and see what their rituals are. And it really expands your mind to think, okay, maybe if I just sit with myself and do a prayer and put a little bit more emphasis on life and love and just everything that comes with their culture and appreciate their culture and what it brings to them, it opens your mind up to, hey, there's so much more to what I believe in. There's things that they believe in, and maybe I should take that into consideration. But if you're just doing the okay, I'm balling this time, doing swings, doing this, going on a boat, going to the beach club, and I'm going back home, like, you'll never experience that. So it's beautiful that you did that.
yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. I mean, so I'm a very spiritual person, but there was something like the day I heard the name Ahmed, I can't even explain it to be honest, but there was a part of me that was like, I have to go there. I don't know what it was, but I just had this calling to go there. So I'm very thankful that I was able to go there. I'm very thankful that I was staying with the family, and I had such a beautiful experience. Like it was like I woke up every day and like my room faced this like mountain, and then like so I opened up my little blinds to the beautiful mountain. To the left of me was the beach, the view of the ocean, and then to the right of me was the big volcano. I forgot what its name. It's not the one we hiked, but it's another one. I think it's
Mount
the
Lagoon.
yeah. Um, so it was just, girl, I was in heaven. And the beach was literally like 2 minutes away. Like it was great. It was great. And then the beautiful part was that when I wanted to have community was there. Like it was like reliable. That's one thing I love about Black and Bali. It's like it's reliable. Like I can go, I can have fun, I can meet the people that I want to meet. I can go and if I really need the social interaction, then I'll go and I'll have that. But then if I need to retreat and be with myself, which I needed to do a lot of, I think the last 2 months I was there, I had that. It was really beautiful. And like I love the Balinese culture too. I remember like God, they have so many ceremonies. I think every 2 weeks they have a full moon and new
Every
moon
day,
ceremony.
right? Yeah, it's a lot, but it's beautiful though. I just love seeing them in the traditional garb, and they have the holy water, and the offerings. It's just if we could just have a little bit of that throughout the entire world. Like I'm biased. I love their culture. We just went through Nyepi. I don't know if you know. Have you heard of Nyepi? The
I've heard
silent
of it.
day
I
of the
really want
silent.
to experience it. Yeah.
It's just so beautiful. It's just a day where the whole island shuts down. Like there's nobody in the streets. Nothing is open. The airport is even closed. Like you can't go outside. They say no electricity, no entertainment. It's just a day to reflect on everything that's going on. You just go inward, you meditate, eat very light meal, very light, healthy meals. And it was just beautiful. The next day, it just felt like a whole different world. The whole island felt like it just had a refresh, like it just hit the refresh button. Beautiful, beautiful. Anybody in Bali during the first 3 months, I think it's usually in April. Nyepi is one day out of the year where the whole island shuts down. Absolutely take the opportunity to come down here for Nyepi and experience it for yourself.
Yeah. That's one thing. I think the first day I arrived in Bali, my taxi driver told me about that holiday. And yeah, that's one of my life goals eventually. I don't know. I'm kind of like, maybe I should go back to Bali like already. But but yeah, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to stay too, was for that holiday. I wanted to experience that holiday because I heard so many good things about that holiday. And I just love that because it's magical. I love that there's a day out of the year for reflection. I think every religion has their version of this. Um, but I feel like for some religions, it doesn't necessarily like the call isn't to reflect, right? They don't really put emphasis on that. Maybe there's intention behind it, but I love that Bali spends this one day and they say, no, today we're quiet, we're reflecting. Like that's it. We're shutting down the whole island. Um, I feel like like you said, like every country needs this. I feel like everybody needs this. because we're just taught, especially in the States, to go, 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 go. Don't pause. Even when you're on vacation, you're not pausing, right? Like you said, you're spending
No,
those 2 weeks living your best life, because when you go back home, you know you're not gonna have that, right? It's very
no.
different. And so I feel like that's the magic in yeah, like we said, like slow travel, learning new cultures, experiencing new cultures. But that's the magic of it, is that you get this opportunity to pause, to reflect. I think this is kind of the key to solo travel. That's why I advocated a lot when it comes to transformation. Um, it's your opportunity to reflect. It's kind of harder to do when you have those 2 weeks, of vacation time. Cause I understand that. It's like you don't want to reflect. You want to like live your best life, because you need to go back home after and go back to the 9 to 5. But whenever we lose our job, and actually this was a catalyst for me to I lost it due to COVID. And instead of going back and being like, oh my God, I desperately need to have a job, I was like, you know what, let's take this opportunity and figure out what I want in my life, how I really truly want to live. I always say, like, God kind of pushed me pushed me to living that life, and to solo travel. Um, but it's so important to pause and reflect. So, do you think that those moments of reflection played a part in your success with Black and Bali, and really your success in your self-development?
I I I can't say that it doesn't. I feel like if you don't reflect, if you don't take time to sit out and reflect on how far you've come, you won't appreciate where you're going and how far you've been. So I think just taking that time to sit down with myself, read back on my journals, that's strong. Reading back on my journals and where I was, the mind space I was in, the financial space I was in, the where I was at, and then comparing that to where I am now, I've definitely become a better version of myself, a version of myself that I can actually say, like, damn, like I did that, like, and I'm still doing it and I'm in it right now. And I got so much for me in the future. Like, absolutely. Like the reflection and looking back on where I've been, like I was proud of that, but child. I don't hate to toot my own horn, but toot toot.
Girl, you got
Yeah.
to, you got to. We know, but
Yeah.
we need to celebrate ourselves more often. This is like,
Mhm.
it's required, in my opinion. It's part of the process. You have to.
Yeah.
Okay. If you need to, you can do it alone, in your room, fine, sure. But you need to celebrate yourself. I think we don't do that enough. Um,
Mhm.
okay, so I know I really grilled you with these questions, but like I said, like
All
I
right.
really want to, make this more than just like a typical interview. I really want to know like what brought you to this point now, and use it as an opportunity for you to reflect. So, one of the final questions I always ask my guests is, if you could talk to Jana 5, 10 years ago, even little, like small Jana, if you want to, what would you say to her?
Speak up. I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of one, two, three, four, five. And I was always shielded by my siblings, and I've always had someone speak for me. And it wasn't until a while ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where I really learned the power of my voice and how much that could get me and how far I can go with it. Um, I think the smaller me or my inner child always yearned for a family, and I have a family, but I mean just that closeness of having friends to where you can call them family and you know that they always had your back outside of my family.
Mhm.
Just because I've always been so family centric and it's just been us. I have family, all my family lives abroad. Like none of my immediate family lives within the US. And like I said, I didn't leave the US until 5 years ago. So once I did move abroad, I found that family. And I could say that everything that I wanted when I was a child and everything that I yearned for to have that voice, to be able to speak on a platform and be a co-founder of a community that offers people to connect with one another and find their family abroad has been a dream to me because not only am I getting what I needed from myself my inner child, but I'm giving that to others as well. And I don't even realize it myself. This just hit me right now. Like I'm realizing that myself. Like I'm giving what I needed so much as a child to other people now because my cup is filled and I want to fill other people's cups. And having that voice. I've always been one to like stutter and like have the smallest voice in the room and don't want to mix the pot and start anything. But no, it's like it's time for us to stand up. And I'm a woman and I'm strong. I can stand on my own too, and I'm independent and I'm living on my own in a whole nother country with no family here. It's like it's time for me to stand on my own too and just go. Um, I've always had my family behind me, and now I have a family here. So I can definitely say that just being abroad and having that little girl that always yearned for what she wanted then, and I built that here. So I think that is definitely something that I've always wanted 20 years back, and now I have it 10 times, tenfold. So very proud of that. And I can't say anything but good things about the people and the community that I've made here, and even if the people that I've come across, I might only have interactions with you for 1 or 2 months, but these are people that I have lifetime connections with. I leave Bali and I might vacation and I go to their country and now I have a place to stay. I have a family over there. And you traveling abroad and you meeting people and you meet people along the way. And it's like having those friends, but it's international friends and they're everywhere. And it's super dope, man. It's super dope. And that's one thing that I cherish, that all the friends and the relationships and the bonds that I build around the world. So to me, that's something that I could have never thought I would ever have, and I've wished for, and now I have it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate. I think everything that you just said is just so inspiring, not just for me, I think even for the audience. But thank you so much for saying those words. Because even for me, I used to identify as somebody who's very quiet. Yeah, you talk about speaking up, girl. Nothing came out of my mouth because it was just like, right? It was just like how I was, I guess conditioned, I think is the right word. But that is so inspiring and it's so empowering to know that other people can also have that dream come true. Other people who are coming from spaces where we're more introverted, where we have people speak for ourselves, or we're not speaking at all for ourselves, come to a place where we can speak up for ourselves. We can be the creators of our reality. So thank you so much, Jana, for being on here. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. Um, Yes, I'm gonna take note. Maybe I should prepare a future interview.
No, it was good. This was smooth. Like it was
Okay.
good. Loved it.
But I really appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability in this show. So real quick, how can the audience find you?
You can find me personally on my Instagram, Imani Jana 31, IMANI JANA 31, or Journey by Jana on Instagram. You can find Black in Bali at all social media platforms at Black in Bali. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Jana. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Peace.